Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. So here's the question. I want you to think about this. Are you ready to end all restrictions and turn Ontario wide open? Are you ready for that? Denmark, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Finland have all declared that they are about to reopen all of the countries entirely. No more mandatory masks, no attendance restrictions. In other words, back the way things were prior to COVID. There's a song from the play Little Abner. Put 'em back the way they was. Well, that's what they're doing in many of those countries. Denmark, Sweden, etc. Saskatchewan says it's going to swing the doors wide open this month, before the end of this month. Alberta says it's going to swing the doors at least partially open, probably, sometimes next month. So, what about you? Are you ready for a wide open Ontario? Now, before you say yes, let's just consider what we're talking about here. For example, are you prepared to go to a restaurant with no restrictions whatsoever, people without masks, not distancing, and for all you know, they are not vaccinated? Are you prepared to go to such a restaurant? Now, keep in mind that when we say no more mandates, that means no more government control. However, individual businesses would still be free to exercise whatever controls they wished. I would imagine that many restaurants would say, we are open only to vaccinated people. That would be their decision. But at any rate, the question is, are you, as an individual, prepared to take the risk? Are you prepared to go to a Senators game, knowing that the arena will be jammed, people with no mask, just as they do in the United States and have done in the United States for a long, long time? Are you prepared for that? Or would you take a somewhat more moderate stance? In other words, still have some restrictions, perhaps restrictions on numbers, perhaps restrictions on mass. I don't know. How far are you prepared to go, if you're prepared to go at all? Now, I'm going to tell you this. There's one area, and I'm going to state very clearly, that I think should be wide open, and that is our border with the United States. The restrictions imposed now, particularly on returning Canadians, are absolutely nonsensical. There's no question that the government, in this case, the federal government, is pretending that these people are bringing COVID with them. That's nonsense. COVID's already here. I don't know if you know this or not, but COVID is already here in some numbers. So the idea that somehow or other, we've got to make all of these people returning to Canada or coming into Canada jump through all sorts of medical hoops, and in many cases costing them a good deal of extra money, inconvenience, et cetera, because they're bringing COVID into Canada, is nonsense. And this is one of the things, that kind of nonsensical ruling is one of the reasons that more and more people are beginning to rebel. They realize that it's nonsensical. My brother and his wife just returned. Their son, my cousin, my nephew actually, plays football for a university in Mississippi. So they've been down there watching him play a couple of games, etc. And so they came back, and they thought that they had all of their vaccinations, but as luck would have it, there had been a delay. So they were stopped at the border. They already had proof that not only had they double vaccinated, but they had the third one. They had the booster shots. Both Paul and Linda had the booster shots. They had a document saying that they had tested negative, but the test was apparently a day old. So what did they do? They had to stop. I forget where it was, in Buffalo or someplace, and spend overnight in a hotel there, get another test, and finally be allowed back into their own country. That's nice. That makes no sense, and they know it, and everybody else. So that's the one area I say. And in this regard, I agree with the truckers. I don't agree with the truckers' stance on vaccines. That's a different issue entirely. But when it comes to opening the border, I couldn't agree more. Insisting that we put people through this crazy, stupid dance, pretending that they're bringing Omicron into the province that's already rife with Omicron. I mean, anyway, you know where I stand. But what about you? Um, as I say, it would appear that more and more nations, more and more countries, are prepared to open up to take there's some risk, but and John, you pointed this out. We had a little chat before going on the air. I mean, there's a risk in everything. There's a risk if you go skiing. There's a risk in mountain climbing. Hell's bells, there's risk in then getting in your car and driving, particularly on the Queensway.
Bungee jumping,
Bungee jumping,
skydiving.
yeah, we don't. There's a risk and everything. But people, we have in many cases we have left people, given them the right to make their own decision on this. It would seem to me that there's probably less risk in attending a Sens game with unmasked people than there is in bungee jumping. But then, or even for that matter, probably the riskiest thing you'll do in going to a Sens game is driving there. So, where do you stand here? Are you prepared to open the province entirely? Do you think we still need some restrictions? What restrictions would they be? Or do you favor keeping things essentially the way they are now? And what's your feeling? There's really two questions here, two aspects about the border. Surely you must agree that, this is nonsense, making people go through all of this to get back into their own country. Just is nonsensical. All right, John, go through how people get in touch with us.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Nope, sorry. The phone number, and you can also text it, 613-413-2217. If you're following on Facebook, if you're following on YouTube, if you're following on Twitch, if you're following on Twitter, you can post your comments there, and I will pop them up on the screen. I cut and paste as many of them as I can over my notepad so I can read them to Lowell in real time. But we sure appreciate your phone calls as well, 613-413-2217. And as long as I have the mic, a reminder, please share this on your timeline. Let your friends know that Lowell and I were joking, like you said before we got on the air. He gets friend requests from people saying, "I thought you were dead."
Yeah, this really impresses me. I'm getting a lot of requests. The show is becoming much more popular. The number of views is way up. My understanding, how many people watched the podcast this last month?
The podcast in the month of January topped 10,000 listens.
Which is an indication, it's encouraging that people want to hear a different voice. Most of the media today, and in both countries, both the United States and Canada, is for the most part left-wing, as you all know. But an increasing number of people say, you know what, I want to hear the other side. There are two sides to this story. Not everybody views the world the same as the left-wing media. Thank God that not everybody views the world as does the Ottawa Citizen. And by the way, yes, you're absolutely right. Reports of my demise are vastly exaggerated. Okay, I'm still alive. I don't know if you noticed or not. John, have we got?
We do. My new camera follows me around wherever I move. So now when I hold the sign up for you with a name on it, it jumps around. But Barry's on the phone.
Oh, I haven't heard from Barry in at least 4 or 5 hours. Go ahead. Hi, Barry. Good to hear from you again.
Thanks, Lowell. I was going to say that's pretty good. Like, what a shot. I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, I don't think.
That's right. You're right.
What do you think? Well, my opinion is I think they should open everything up. It's like a friend of mine said, even if they open everything up, he's going to keep wearing a mask out in public. And I think that'd be a smart thing for a lot of people to do. Right. You know, it's just like, it doesn't matter whether it's COVID or a cold or flu, you can catch maybe a lot of those illnesses being too close to someone, possibly. And I think, wearing a mask for a while until everyone's sure that their vaccinations are high enough and that we have herd immunity and that COVID's gone away, then maybe we can stop wearing masks.
But this would be an individual choice, though.
Yes. No more government mandates at all.
Good.
And especially on our borders. Then stuff like this at Parliament Hill won't be going on. And something else to do with the truckers convoy in Parliament Hill, I'd like to mention, Lowell,
Sure.
is all the fake news that's going around. I'm sick and tired of fake news so bad that anything Trudeau says or anything that comes out of his office, I don't believe. I hate to say it. I sure hope his kids aren't sick, but I don't even believe the news that his kids have COVID.
Can I ask you a question, Barry? Can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead, Lowell.
Excuse me. You mean to tell me there was a time when you believed Trudeau?
No, never, Lowell. But I just think, he talks in circles so much. There's nothing there really to believe at all, anytime. But I just mean, as far as the truth goes about his kids, about him being exposed to COVID, all that, Lowell, he's, it's all fake news. I wanted to point out too that we're sure getting laughed at down in the States and Australia even by other peoples because of this tomfoolery with the government and all these mandates and restrictions. Australia's wide open now. The States is wide open. There's also a couple of things about fake news on YouTube video that are both broadcast by Australian news media. And the one broadcaster is talking about how the residential school at Kamloops, the recent announcements about it and stuff, that they haven't found any bodies there, all the graves, and they go out and they put all the flags out and stuff like this to show how many graves they pinpointed. And according to this Australian broadcaster, the ground radar was getting anomalies, whether a piece of wood or a stone or a rock or something like this. And it just makes me wonder, with all the other government scams and with Trudeau promising $50 billion to go to the victims of the residential schools, I wonder how many of those numbers are fudged up really high in cases like this Kamloops.
All right, Barry, that's a very, very good question. A very good question, a little off the topic, but actually, in a way, it isn't. It deals with what can we believe these days. Thank you for the call, Barry. Good to hear from you, sir, again. John, we got some emails coming in here, some texts.
Tons of comments. We got emails. We got Facebook. We got YouTube comments. We've got Twitch comments. Here we go. Let me see. Kathy says, yes, it's time. Coralyn says, yes to opening up. Doug says, yes. Donald says, nope, we're not ready. Sea to Sky says, yes, if they say we have to start to live with it, then let's move on. Craig says, yes, I'm ready. Gregory says, yes, sir. Paul says, I'm ready to have the occupiers removed from my neighborhood. He's right downtown. Peter says, yes, but Ontario won't do it until near the election in June, late April, early May, he suggests. Katie is in for a vote for yes. Kathy says yes. Stephen says yes, and adds he'll be at the Sens game. Joshua says, I'm prepared to have the choice to the chance. Jeanette says, yes, let's get on with living without fear. Yes, from Janet. Freedom for all to choose, says another Janet. Cheryl says, yes, could not agree with you more, Lowell. Enough is enough. Gregory, I'm vaccinated and am just as potentially contagious, albeit for a shorter period of time, as non-vaccinated. Quit discriminating based on outdated, obsolete information. Open it up. Some of the comments coming in. So overwhelmingly, I would say
surprised. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that people want to open things up. I am a little surprised that so few people, are not suggesting that we have some restrictions. But I come to think of it, I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's not essentially the mood right across the country. I think people, and I think the truckers are demonstrating this, and that is that people by and large have just had enough. They say, okay, if we open things up and there's more risk, so be it. It's better to have some risk than to live the way we are now. Paul is on the line. Go ahead, Paul.
How you doing today?
Not worth a damn. What's on your mind, Paul?
Well, sir.
Where'd you get that voice? Paul, where did you get that voice?
I was born with it.
You know what? It sounds like you're gargling with razor blades. Go ahead.
No, I do jazz, DJ, podcast stuff and that. So,
Okay, all
but
right,
I live right downtown. I'm on Metcalf Street, and
right.
I'm living in a hell zone right now.
Oh
The
dear.
city is doing nothing. The police are doing nothing. The mayor is doing nothing, and I am at my wit's end, to the point where I actually went down to support a guy the other day who was parading around saying, "Please do not hold us hostage in our city anymore." And I ended up freaking out on a truck driver because he was blaring his horn for about 3 minutes solid while I was trying to have a conversation with one of my neighbors about mounting a counter protest. And quite frankly, I'm done with this. The city has failed us. The police have failed us. I don't even know what the point of the police in Ottawa are for anymore, because quite frankly, they've done nothing. Nothing. They haven't lifted a finger. They've let these people run ramshackle over everything. They've assembled a fuel storage depot right next to Confederation Park and built a food hut at the same time. Like, what in the hell is going on? They lit off fireworks at 11:30 last night. These train horns that they've put on their trucks are at like 130 dB. These
Yeah, but what?
people are
But
not adjusted properly.
they, well, okay. But what is the main concern? I mean, how have they occupied you?
You can't drive anywhere downtown.
That's not
Anywhere.
true. That's not true.
I live here.
Well,
There are vehicles everywhere. They have taken up the entire northbound lane of Bank Street from Gladstone right to Wellington.
but you can still
I
drive.
live here.
Yeah.
Why is a Bank Street, which is a two-lane vehicle, a two-lane street, now suddenly a one-lane street, and nobody's getting ticketed or towed? This is
Well,
anarchy.
yeah.
They
There's no
drive up
question.
Metcalf Street, park in the middle, get out of their vehicle, and walk away. If
Okay,
I
can I
pulled
ask
that
you?
stunt,
Can
I'd
I
be
ask?
towed in a second.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Okay. What what about all of the businesses that have been locked down and shut down? I mean, do you at least support them in that?
No, I support the businesses. I do not support what these truckers are doing, because guess what? They've shut down the entire downtown core.
Oh, that's not true. That's
That
not
is
true.
true.
They
Lowell
haven't shut
Burrito
down the
Center has been
entire.
closed since Sunday.
They
Every
have not.
restaurant, every
There's
coffee, there's like 2 Tim Hortons open in the core.
all the restaurants along Elgin Street are open. What are you talking about? All the restaurants.
I'm
In fact,
talking the central business district where they are.
well,
They're not on
Elgin
Elgin Street.
Well, Elgin Street is central business district. The
I'm looking
restaurants,
at Elgin Street right
the
now.
restaurants for the most part on Bank Street are open. I don't. I mean,
No,
listen.
they've
I'm
closed
not
the
done.
businesses on Bank.
Not all those
People are
stores.
afraid. Look, dude, they smashed the window out of the Happy Goat the other day on Elgin Street because they have a pride
Who did?
flag in the window.
Who did?
I don't know. They're
Well,
looking for them.
no, but you wait a minute. You just got through saying you don't know, and yet you claim it's the truckers.
I didn't say that. I said they. I didn't say who they are.
Well, but you're lumping it all together. Look, I'm not denying the fact that it's inconvenient and maddening. Okay, and I have said, and I say again, the time has come for them to go. But here is the one thing that I think we all need to examine, and that is that there's something going on here, because it's not just the truckers, Paul. I mean, they had thousands of supporters all the way. There's farmers coming in now. There's a problem in this country. I agree they should go home. They should not be inconveniencing people the way they are. But there's something going on here that is disturbing a lot of people. The root causes we have not dealt with as yet. What do you think the root causes are?
Well, to begin with, most of their complaints should be directed at the premier of the province of Ontario, or the province
I'm
where
sorry.
they live.
No, wait, can I just correct you there? Their number one complaint is the federal mandate concerning cross-border travel, sir. That's what prompted this.
Yeah, but okay, fair enough. But
Okay.
what's the holdup on that?
The federal government. Trudeau won't even talk to them.
No. Yes, Trudeau has insisted that you need to be vaccinated to come into this country from the United States, and the United States have insisted they need to be vaccinated to go into their country.
Yes.
We can't control their border.
No, but we can control our border.
Yes. So we did the same thing they did.
So you think that I got to get this straight. You believe that the truckers and all of their supporters, which is hundreds of thousands of people, they're all wrong.
Yeah, because 90% of the trucking community is vaccinated. 90%. And these guys are going, we can't get work. Most of the truckers that are protesting in the city of Ottawa right now are regional. They can't cross into the United States.
Let me ask you one other question. Well, let me ask you one other question. Do you place any responsibility on Trudeau? Should he, at the very least, not have met with these people?
No, I don't think you meet with terrorists. I don't think you meet with terrorists, and they are terrorizing this neighborhood.
Oh, for Christ's sake. You know, I thought we had a reason.
You're not here, so you don't tell me what I'm living through.
No, but don't call them all terrorists. Come on. That's totally unfair. I mean, you lost, you know what? You lost the argument with that. See, that's the problem. We're trying to have a reasonable debate here, and you call them all terrorists. That really advances the argument, Paul. Oh, for heaven's sakes. They're not all terrorists. Come on. Be fair. Be fair. I have to move on, sir. Right? You know, we're having a good debate, and then you call them all terrorists. You lost everything there. Go ahead. All right. Next. Sorry. John, have we got anybody, any else comment here?
This is absolute insanity right now, the comments. Let's get a word in for Shields, and then we'll get to the comments. How's that?
All right. What'll I calm down here? But, you know, it's unfortunate. I mean, we're trying to have a reasonable debate. I agreed with him that they should have left. I've said this yesterday, the day before they should go. They're inconvenient, no question about it. But when I asked the question, you know, there must be something going on here to prompt all of this, not just the truckers, but all of the supporters. And then when I say, should Trudeau, well, you heard what he said. No, they shouldn't meet with terrorists. I mean, there are mothers there with children, and come on. That's sad. You know what? To me, that's really sad. Shields. Nothing sad about Shields, believe me. We've talked about this before. Money these days, extremely tight, no question about it. Cost of living skyrocketing. One of the things that you can be very sure of is that at the very least, you are going to get highly competitive prices when it comes to appliances at Shields. Check out the website. Check out the prices that you can get from the big box stores. Keeping in mind, please, if you deal with Shields, you're dealing with a company that's been in the same family in Ottawa Valley since 1947. The money stays local. They're good people, honest people, and so honest that they've got their prices are right there. All of the different styles, price ranges, sizes, colors, etc., of every appliance virtually that you could possibly want, including, by the way, they have a tremendous selection of these new air fryers. I'm still trying to convince Deborah that we need an air fryer here.
You do. You do.
Thank you all. John, we've got some more comments here.
Lowell, this is insanity. I got good news for you, though. I know what you're doing this weekend. You got a lot of reading to do because I'm passing all of these comments on to you.
Okay.
Here's Deb via text at 613-413-2217. They're all shit disturbers, not terrorists. I feel so bad for Paul. Barry, we got a phone call from you, so I'm going to skip your comment if that's okay with you. Good afternoon, Lowell. I was watching CTV late night news last night, and it was reported Trudeau was moved to an undisclosed location. So is Trudeau in exile? His father didn't back down in Montreal at a parade while getting hit with a rock, bottles, and eggs. Who is leading our country? Asks Phil.
Well, actually, a correction there. He was not hit, but they threw stuff at him. No question. Go ahead.
Mark says, glad I'm not liberal. My father would have kept my ass red from the lies. Janet says, also, JT won't have a conversation, just name calls, lies. Sorry, but not sorry, JT acting like a communist leader. Cheryl says, if we don't stand for something, then we fall for everything. Stop honking, Paul. You're too loud, says Terry. Peter says, like, share with friends and even liberals. LMAO. Thanks, folks. Jeanette says, I think at the very least that the honking should stop at 7 p.m. But back to your question is, which, started the conversation, should we open up? It's still a resounding yes. So here we go. Anne says, yes, yes, yes. I'm tired of living in fear. It has been 2 whole years of this crap. At the beginning, I could see a reason for caution since we didn't have the vaccines. But now that most people are double vaccinated and even boosted, it's time to open the floodgates and work on increasing hospital capacity. Janet says the truckers actually have been saying the right to choose vaccinations or not. Mike, I really feel sorry for people with underlying issues and the elderly. We already have a nurse shortage here. And like we said before, our healthcare system is in shambles. I, for one, believe in the science. Sorry, I know a lot of people won't like this, but until the professionals say it's safe to do so, I think we need to wait a little longer to see how this B2 Omicron variant turns out. Karen is on Facebook. I flew back to Canada and had to pay $100 US each for 3 of us for PCR, only to get to Toronto to have the government make us all have to redo again. Our PCR were 28 hours old, only to have spent 3 days quarantining until airport gives the new PCR tests, and we are all 3 times vaccinated.
Whatever you feel about vaccines, whatever you feel about the truckers, I mean, this just makes no sense. The medical hoops that we put people through to get back into this country make absolutely no sense. And I believe are one of the major reasons why there is so much discontent. People look at the ruling concerning our border and they say, you know what? I mean, that makes no sense. The medical experts are telling us this is necessary, but we know that that's not true. So it makes them distrust all information. Go ahead, John.
If the truckers leave, JT and the media win, declare victory, and nothing will change, says Peter via text at 613-413-2217. Janet, mainstream media should be ashamed with all the crappy lying, so-called reporting. Mike says, we are so close now and things are looking very good. I'm just concerned about hospitals with this virus being so contagious.
Don't forget the major question here is, are you ready to open up? I repeat, Denmark, I just get it right here. Denmark, Ireland, Norway, Sweden, Finland have, excuse me, all declared that they are going to open very, very quickly, if not today. Saskatchewan says it's going to totally open by the end of this month. Alberta says it's going to open, at least mostly open, sometime next month. Are we ready for this in Ontario? That's the major question here. Are we ready for it? Are you? And when I say are we, the question really is directed to you. Are you ready? Because there would be some risk. If you're going to go to a game, for example, with the Senators, there's a very good chance you'll be sitting next to somebody that's not vaccinated, unless the Senators themselves insist, which in all probability they would. But are you prepared to take the risk yourself, or do you still want the government to do it for you? Go ahead, John, please.
We have a caller. I haven't had a chance to screen them yet. Want to go to the phone here, Lowell?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, welcome to the Lowell Green Show. What's your name, please?
My name's Leslie.
All right, Leslie, go ahead. You're on with Lowell Green. Thanks for the call.
Thanks for taking my call. So quickly, as far as asking for Justin Trudeau to come out and speak with the protesters, I think at this point it's a moot point. Justin has stated his position. He's very condescending and insulting, and he's not going to do anything about it. There's zero leadership coming from him. So at this point, I think the ball's been fumbled, and it's available for any politician to pick up at this point and start a dialogue at the very least. Okay, start getting the population talking back and forth, not through the media, but firsthand. Find out what the concerns are, what is possible, and then and I would strongly encourage the Conservatives to do this, and then bring it to Parliament, present it right to the Liberals, and say, "Hey, we spoke to them firsthand. Here's what they want. Can you make that happen?" And at least, the very least, let the people see what's going on, who's the hold up, what's the problem, and I think we can start moving things forward that way.
You know what? That's a very reasonable approach. I just want to point out that Candice Bergen, who's now the interim leader of the Conservatives, has met with them. Pierre Poilievre has met with them, and Aaron O'Toole met with them and had a discussion. What do you think the role of the mayor should be here?
One, I think he should stop inflaming the situation, because I think he's doing a little too much of whatever, they're rapists, they're terrorists, and all that kind of negative broadcasting. So I think he should tone that down. And I was actually starting to gain respect for Mayor Watson, but lately I don't like this position he's taken. He seems to have taken a strong position against the truckers. I think, and he's usually known as a what's the word I'm looking for?
Moderate.
A moderate. He's known to bring sides together and get people talking. So I think he could step up and say, okay, we've spoken to them, and you know what? I think the truckers, the protesters, would be more than accommodating and compromising to certain.
Well, at the very least, I agree. I couldn't agree with you more. At the very least, somebody in authority should at least sit down and listen to what they have to say. I mean, thousands of people have come here. There were 40 to 50, 60,000 people here on the Hill. There were thousands along the way. And I mean, to deny the fact that they have any legitimate concern, I mean, that you know what? That makes no sense either. At the very least, it seems to me the mayor or somebody should have sat down, at least, you know, they didn't have to agree with their concerns, but at least show them enough respect, for God's sake, to say, listen, I want to hear what you have to say, and we'll take it back and we can discuss this. I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks for the call. We're almost out of time here. Thank you all. And I want to. You're going to send me all of these so that I get some good weekend reading.
Yes,
But
sir.
the majority of people, as I gather, John, are saying yes. Time to open up. Am I reading that right?
A quick off the top of my head number, I would say you're probably at about 98% yes rate.
Open her up.
Yep.
The time is here. It's time. Thank you very much, folks. Talk to you Monday.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.